Yeah, so I gave her that monkey D, and now she calling me the Pirate King. You know what I'm saying? You
Haha.
know what I'm talking about, huh?
Hey, we're live, sir.
God damn it, Larry. Good morning, good evening, and good night. Welcome back to the Slyy Report. I am your host, Gold D Rings, and today on the Slyy Report, we will be giving you a full breakdown on episodes 1 through 4 of One Piece, the live action. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with the news. And welcome back to the Slyy Report, brought to you by water. Drink it. It's good for you. Today, our top story is going to be episode 1. We're going to talk about it, give you some points that are of interest, and we're going to tell you all about the things that happened. So, let's get into it. Episode 1 of the One Piece live action starts with a narration like the original series, or the anime, if you will. Starts with a One Piece narration, if you will, given by Ian McShane. He goes over the story of Roger and the pirate era and all this other stuff, and then we cut immediately into a flashback, starting off episode 1 of Roger's execution. So, just a little thing I want to talk about here. It's also in my notes here. Roger's actor gives off the spirit of Roger so well. He has the swagger of someone you would expect being called Pirate King. He has the gravitas, the charisma, if you will. Also, something they establish right here off the bat is when they introduce a new pirate, they show you his bounty poster. Now, for Roger, they don't show you his actual bounty, but for everybody else going forward, they will show you the bounty poster and the bounty. And I think that's just such a cool effect, such a cool touch. Anyway, getting back to the execution, we have Garp present at the execution. Now, I like this change for a couple reasons, because the back and forth, the little banter exchange between Garp and Roger shows that they have a history together. That it isn't just a Marine that captured a pirate and now he's trying to execute him. He's doing what he believes is the right thing to do as Garp, as a Marine, as someone who's trying to uphold justice in the world. But we also can tell from his little interaction with Roger when he says, hey, you brought this on yourself, man, that he does have a begrudging respect for Roger the person, even if he doesn't like Roger the pirate. So Roger gives a speech. We cut through the crowd. We see a young Shanks. We see a young Smoker, Mihawk, and what I am firmly saying is a female young crocodile. They're sowing the seeds early. So, this does confirm, for me at least, the croc was a woman theory. And there's a lot of evidence to go back and support this. I'm not going to go into the whole crocomom theory or whatever, but the croc is a woman theory is stronger than ever. And I'm here for it. So, Roger's executed. He tells the crowd, go find my treasure. Started the Great Pirate Era. We flash forward, and now we meet Luffy. So, Luffy's introduction in the show is, in my definition, perfect. It's just so Luffy. He's talking to the news crew. He's explaining his dream. He's saying, you want to be on my crew? He's trying to bail out his dinghy because it's sinking. And like, it gives such Luffy energy. And the guy that portrays Luffy, Inaki, he is so, like, he's such Luffy. He's such a Luffy. You know what I'm saying? Like, he embodies the spirit of what a live action Luffy should be. So the boat sinks, he gets in the barrel, and a lot of little Easter eggs are here amongst the things that we're seeing. There's names and people who are referenced from the manga or from the actual story, and you just get little references like that, a little attention to details that make the world feel so much more lived in and like so much more real. You feel me? So he gets in the barrel, he floats off, and it's his first day as a pirate. And then we cut Alvida. So we get Alvida, we get the introduction to Alvida. They're attacking a pirate ship. They do the little bounty poster thing. It's perfect. And it really shows the brutality of Alvida. It shows that, hey, this is a real deal cutthroat pirate world. Yes, there are silly aspects. Yes, they have powers or whatever. But these are pirates. And a lot of these niggas are out here killing people. So we get introduced to Alvida. We get that scene where they attack the ship and all this other stuff. We get a mention of Zoro because Alvida is, for lack of a better word, paranoid that Zoro is coming after her. Even though the guy who she captures, the ship they just raided, says, hey, Zoro about passes to Sixtus. He has a list, and you're not really on the list. Alvida doesn't take too kindly to that, kills the guy, tells Kobe to come clean up the mess. And here we get introduced to Kobe, and I like Kobe's actor also because the person they got to play Kobe does such a great job, not just with the acting of the spoken word, but with the physical acting, like the facial expressions, the body language. I'm gonna get into it more later as the series progresses, but let me just say right now, like, I totally dig the actor they got for Kobe, and I like him. I like them a lot. So Kobe gets to cleaning up. We cut to nighttime. Everybody on the ship is asleep. They've grabbed the barrel that Luffy is in as part of their spoils, and Kobe's cleaning up Alvida's axe, just doing his nightly duties. Luffy pops out, and we get our first Kobe-Luffy interaction, and it's great. Like, you're gonna hear me say that a lot. It's great because it gives off what it's supposed to give off. Kobe's giving the energy that he's supposed to be giving in this particular scene, and so is Luffy. Luffy's just like, hey, I'm here. You know what I'm saying? Like, where's the food? I need to get to the Grand Line. This is my dream. He starts talking to Kobe, starts, really giving him some nuggets of wisdom that Kobe's latching onto subconsciously, maybe even outright overtly. He's latching onto these nuggets that Luffy is giving him. Like, he's trying to neg Luffy's dream and neg Luffy, and Luffy's just like not having it. He's like, hey man, all this stuff you're talking about, pirate graveyard, giant beasts, it sounds exciting. Sounds like a cool adventure for me. I want to do it. So Kobe's trying to sneak Luffy off the ship. Chaos ensues because it's Luffy. We get the Alvida Luffy confrontation, and this is where we get our first gum attack. And I'm not gonna say that the effects are perfect, but they do the job. They work. They're believable within the world that they built here, and they do kind of make Luffy's powers more learn as you go. Like, he has the pistol attack, he stretches and all this other stuff, but there are certain things that he does later on in later episodes that he's not sure that he could do. You know what I'm saying? And I like this for a couple reasons. It shows Luffy doesn't have a full, like, he has an understanding of his powers. He has an understanding of what he is, but at the same time, he's still learning. There's still room for improvement there. You know what I'm saying? And in the anime and the manga, Luffy has a lot more proficiency and a lot more freedom with his devil fruit. And there's a lot more room to do more cartoonish things with that there than in this live action media. So for what we have in the live action, I'm actually a fan of what they're doing. So Kobe and Luffy sailing away. They make a plan to go to the nearest marine base Luffy needs the map to get to the Grand Line. Kobe wants to join the Marines. That's their plan. We then cut over to Sixes, and we get introduced to Zoro in the most badass way possible. He's lighting candles. He's saying a prayer for his friend, his lost friend, who we find out later on with that backstory in episode 4. And Mr. 7 shows up. And this is cool to me because the Mr. 7 confrontation is something that we just hear about in the manga and the anime. Like, it's, oh yeah, Zoro and Baroque Works tried to recruit him. He ended up killing Mr. 7. But here, they show it. They show Mr. 7 trying to recruit Zoro into Baroque Works, which is laying the ground for the Alabasta Saga and stuff like that. Early foreshadowing. Love it. We get peeks into Zoro's character. McKenyu, the guy that plays Zoro, does a great job. I love his sword play. I love how he plays Zoro as so nonchalant and cool and kind of just like over everything. And he's kind of just like, yeah, I'm doing my own thing. You know, that's what he says to Mr. 7 when he tries to recruit him. Mr. 7 doesn't take kindly to that. He makes fun of Mr. 7's face tattoo, all this stuff. So a battle ensues, and Zoro straight up cuts Mr. 7 in half, puts his baddie in a bag, and takes him to the nearest Marine base to collect the bounty. And I love this because we're getting Pirate Hunter Zoro. You feel me? Like, we got filler episodes with Pirate Hunter Zoro, and we have like stories or people saying, oh yeah, he's feared, or people were fearful of him in the East Blue in the manga and the anime. But here in the live action, they're showing you Zoro is a feared pirate hunter, and I love it. Then we get introduced to Nami, and she's introduced the same way she's introduced in the manga, stealing a ship from Buggy. And she's going to get the map for the Grand Line for her own reasons. So all of our characters coalesce in this bar in Shellstown, and this is where we get into the Marines and their operations. We get introduced to Helmeppo in the bar. We get the little girl bringing Zoro the rice balls here, and I like this change because it, in the anime and in the manga, Zoro's already been tied up. He's already been tied up, and he's been deprived of food and I guess sleep or whatever for going on 30 days. And in the manga and anime that works, but in a live action setting, you have to have a reason why he's being tied up. You have to show these type of things. It's a show don't tell type of medium. So I like that they're giving this twist on it to where Zoro's defending the little girl from Helmeppo in the bar, and that's what causes him to be tied up in the yard. And they also bring it down to 7 days. That's another thing they do with the show, as established in episode 1. Like, there are fantastical powers, and they do have a elevated level of strength or elevated level of durability and all these other type of things. But the difference is it's not on the same level as the manga or the anime. And I get why you had to do that for a couple of reasons. But as far as what they are doing here in this setting with establishing the power system and how the world works and the strength level of characters and stuff like that, they're doing a wonderful job. So Zoro gets in the bar fight, he gets tied up. Luffy and Helmeppo witness this. Luffy witnesses Zoro's, not just his battle prowess, but the fact that he's a good person. Nami is here also, and she is trying to work over one of the Marines to infiltrate the base. So as the bar fight breaks out, Nami gets her disguise, she infiltrates the base. Luffy goes with Kobe and tries to come up with a plan to infiltrate the base, and Zoro's captured. So, moving forward, we get to the part where Luffy has infiltrated the base via the sewage system. He comes up upon Zoro, he frees Zoro, he talks to Zoro about his dream, he talks to Zoro about the things he was trying to accomplish. He asks Zoro to join his crew. Zoro kind of brushes him off, but, you know, Luffy sets him free anyway because Zoro tells him his dream to be the best swordsman, and Luffy respects that, and he's like, hey, I don't think you should be hanging out here when you got stuff you're trying to accomplish out there. So Zoro is free. Luffy goes back into the sewage system, goes into Marine Base. Nami has infiltrated the base, and she's in the archives looking for the map. She runs to a spot of trouble. We get some action with Nami. They show how she has her collapsible bow staff. She's a capable fighter when she needs to be, and she's able to think quickly on her feet and come up with plans. So, Luffy and Nami end up together. They end up going to try and find the map throughout the Marine Base. They run into Axan Morgan, and we get another scene where Nami's showing her quick wit, and she's buttering up Captain Morgan and making him seem like, oh, I came to work with you, da 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 da, you know what I'm saying? All this good stuff. And Luffy's just really impressed. He's like, hey, I like you. You're really good. You should join my crew. And this is where we get a very important thing with Nami. She expresses to Luffy that she hates pirates. And we'll get to that later on. But this is a reoccurring thing with her. She's constantly saying, hey, I hate pirates. I'm not a pirate. I'm not part of your crew. And stuff like that. Luffy, being Luffy, is persistent. He's like, oh, well, you know, we'll see. So they proceed to the office. They find the safe. They get the safe out of the room together. And they end up in the courtyard. Now, the Marines are coming. They're attacking. These fight scenes are amazing, by the way. The choreography, how they have Luffy moving, him holding his hat while he fights, Nami using her staff and different types of things to her advantage, and, you know, doing things that women would do in a fight against men, and all this other stuff. And then, while this is happening, Zoro has gone to find his swords, and his swords are with Helmeppo. So Zoro finds his swords with Helmeppo. He takes his swords back, gives Helmeppo his anime canon haircut, which I love. I love that they made Zoro the one to give him the haircut. And it also establishes like a kind of a rivalry between them, and it gives motivation to Helmeppo's character development later on. So, Zoro has all his swords. He's walking through the courtyard. He sees this battle going on, and he has a moment where he's like, I could walk away to freedom and continue doing what I've been doing, or I could help this guy to help me. And Zoro chooses to help. And this is where Captain Morgan comes in, and now it's the three of them versus Captain Morgan. And mostly it's just the two of them. Like, Luffy and Zoro take on Morgan. Nami's still dealing with, like, riffraff or whatever. So, I love how in this episode we don't see Zoro use his three-sword style until this fight. And it's a big deal. Luffy makes a big deal out of it. He's like, where does the third sword go? And, you know, it's just like a thing that people might be asking as someone who isn't familiar with One Piece outside of this show. So we get Zoro tying the bandana, putting the sword in his mouth, getting the three-sword action against Morgan's, and him and Luffy are tag teaming. And one thing I do like, they made Morgan's more stronger or more powerful in the live action than he was in the manga or the anime. And I get why he had to do that, because you also had to change his character slightly. You couldn't make Morgan how he was in the anime or the manga, because Morgan was, for lack of a better word, an asshole. He was killing his own men. He was being a dick. Like, he was saying, like, if you can't work, you're not part of the Marines. You might as well be dead. You're better off dead. Like, Morgan's was truly a bad guy. Here in the live action, they make him a force for good, although a diluted force for good. He's more up his own ass and blowing smoke than anything else. But he does have legitimate power, and he's able to challenge, so to speak, Luffy and Zoro. Although at this point I don't believe either one of them are fighting full serious. But also, that's another thing, that they do sort of ground the people and power levels. Like, yes, Luffy can stretch, but he's not just like wah 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 stretching everywhere. Every attack is a rubber gum type thing. No, he's fighting regularly. He might stretch occasionally to hit a move, or like hit a couple bad guys at the same time or stuff like that. But the real announcements of his moves, or the real pronunciation of his moves, are like big finishing attacks. Like here, him and Zoro tag team Morgan's. Zoro gets Morgan's down with three-sword style, holds the sword to his neck, and then Luffy finishes him off with Gum Gum Whip. So here, Luffy does use Gum Gum attacks, and we'll see more. I'll get more into that like in the next episode and stuff like that. He does use Gum Gum attacks, but they're more reserved for like finishing moves or like really damage dealing blows outside of just regular combat, instead of his whole kit being a Gum Gum arsenal, so to speak. So they defeat Morgans, they get the safe. Helmeppo confronts them when they're about to leave Shell's town, and this is where we get the Kobe moment. Kobe knocks out Helmeppo, and I like this change because it's giving Kobe agency. It's giving Kobe the will and the drive to pursue his own dream. And this is where Kobe and Luffy separate ways. And Luffy and Kobe, they acknowledge that they're friends. Even though they're on separate paths, they might be enemies later on. They still respect each other for following their dreams. And Luffy still acknowledges Kobe as his friend. And this is a perfect way to end this episode. They get the map, they sail off, and now we have our East Blue trio of Luffy, Zoro, and Nami, and we can continue with our East Blue Saga story. I love this adaptation. I love how they're doing it. I like changes that they've made. I like how they're introducing certain people and certain things. Oh yeah, also, we get a flashback. We start to get the flashback of Windmill Village with Shanks. We see how Luffy gets the scar, and we also see where Luffy eats the Gum Gum fruit, and we get his motivations for doing that. We get his motivations for doing that next episode, but we do see him eat the Gum Gum fruit. We see Shanks, we meet Shanks and his crew, Yasop, Lucky Roo, Ben Beckman, all of them. And we get the interactions between Shanks and Luffy wanting to join the crew, and Shanks telling him he's not ready and trying to impart this wisdom to him and all of this stuff. And it's cool and it's good. And we get the rest of that flashback in the next episode, so I'm going to talk more about that in this next part coming up. But yes, this is our lead story right now, episode 1. As far as I'm concerned, I would say that it held up, it did its job, and it's actually really good show, really good television or streaming, whatever you want to call it. I suggest you watch it. This has been the first episode, and we'll be right back with our episode 2 breakdown as we continue our One Piece live action coverage. I'll be right back.
Welcome back. And we're going to continue our coverage of the One Piece live action, starting with episode 2 now. Actually, that's incorrect. Got a few things to say about episode 1 before we get into episode 2. At the end of episode 1, we are introduced to modern day Garp and his right hand man, Bogart Cannon. So, also, we get our first look at a live action Din Din Mushi, and I like it. It looks weird and creepy and unsettling, just like it's supposed to. It's a snail that's psychic that they use as a phone. Also, right at the tail end of episode 1, we are introduced to Buggy the Clown. And it is magnificent. He has the pose from the anime and the manga. He has the swagger. He's menacing. Perfect. So, episode 2. We start off episode 2 back in the flashback of Luffy. He's practicing his gum pistol in the bar with Makino. He's breaking stuff. Makino's like, hey, stop. Please, you're breaking my stuff. And, she sits him down. She explains to him the basic information about devil fruits, how no two powers are the same. Once you eat one, you can no longer swim. You're cursed by the sea, and the sea can take your powers. So, this is important information. We leave that flashback. Actually, no. Shanks arrives there. Luffy's trying to show off to Shanks. Shanks ends up telling Luffy, hey, we're leaving.
We're going after the One Piece, not coming back. Luffy's disappointed. Flashback ends right there. We cut to the present, and we have Nami trying to break into the safe. Luffy doing Luffy things on the ship that Nami stole. And, you know, just generally increasing the dynamic of what is going to become our main crew. So we have Nami being annoyed with Luffy's antics, Luffy being childlike and innocent and excited about the things that just happened or about things that are about to happen, anxious to see the map, and we get reference to Zoro's napping. Zoro's trying to sleep. It's one of his gags from the manga. I appreciate that. It's funny to me. So they break into the safe. Nami gets the map, and then we get geography. Nami starts breaking down the basic geography of the One Piece world, the four blues, the red line, the grand line, all of that. So we get a basic understanding of how the world looks. Then Buggy attacks. Now, Buggy balls or Muggy balls, whichever, are changed to be gas weapons. So they're exploded over the ship, and it releases this powder or this gas, and it puts you to sleep. And I like this because it adds to the showmanship and the theatrics that is Buggy. You feel me? Like, why would his greatest weapon not be something that can capture you or have you put you under a spell, so to speak? You know what I'm saying? So the crew gets captured. They end up in Orange Town, and we don't know that at the time. At this present moment yet, though. So they're captured. Luffy has swallowed the map to keep it safe. They're discussing things while being inside this crate. The crate falls apart. We get introduced to Buggy's circus. We don't have Richie the Lion, and a lot of Buggy's crew, the role that they play, have been downplayed, and Buggy is the focus. And I don't mind this because, like, a lot of his crew is really forgettable anyway. But Buggy being the focus here is great. He gets to show off his menacing side. He gets to show off the humor that is Buggy. He gets to really embody what early Buggy was before other things happened in the manga. I'm not going to spoil it for you. So we get Buggy trying to interrogate these guys and get the map or whatever. And Nami, this is where Nami tries to sell out Luffy, causes distractions so she can escape. So she runs out of the tent. She sees the destruction of Orange Town, and this is affecting her specifically based off of the storyline that she has going on. And we'll get more into that when we get later into the season. But just know right now that seeing the town be destroyed really rattled her. So she gets captured again, brought back. Buggy's like, all right, take Zoro and Nami off. I'm going to spend time with the rubber boy here. So he starts stretching Luffy out, interrogating him, try to psychoanalyze him. Eventually he gets down to the Straw Hat. He recognizes him. And he starts naming Shanks and saying things about Shanks and saying like, oh, me and Shanks were on the same crew. Back in the day when we were about your age, I used to know a guy that had a straw hat like this, red hair, 3 scars, left eye. You know, he's really playing up the fact that he knows Shanks. And he feels like Shanks betrayed him. Now, we don't get the story behind that, but if you're a manga reader or an anime watcher, it's coming. The anime is coming soon. In the manga, we already know what that betrayal is. So I like that they're foreshadowing all of this stuff like so early. You know what I'm saying? I like that they're giving you little hints and nuggets to later storylines or later plot threads. So we get through that, and Luffy confronts Luffy confronts Buggy after escaping the torture rack because it's not really doing much to him. Buggy's threatening innocent people, and Luffy's not gonna stand for that. So Luffy attacks Buggy, and we get the reveal of Buggy's devil fruit. And I like how they revealed Buggy's devil fruit because the way they have him dressed is so conducive. Like his outfit, the costume designer did their thing with Buggy. The outfit he has works so well with his powers. It works to where he wears clothes to where he separates. It's good for the animation or the CGI department or whoever did that, whoever's working on that, so they can express how his powers work and then put him back together without doing too much. You feel me? And they do not hold back with his powers. I'm not gonna hold you. Like the first thing they show is Luffy decapitating him with a gum pistol. Luffy looked at his fist confused, like, am I that strong? And that's where we get the reveal. And then Buggy does a real cool thing where he detaches his hand with a muggy ball, squishes it behind Luffy, and knocks him out. So we get a cut to Zoro and Nami. They're in captivity. They're arguing. They're going back and forth. And Nami's like, I'm going to escape. Zoro's like, all right, cool. And then Kabaji comes in. Kabaji comes in, and we get even more pirate hunter Zoro lore. Like, they are really selling you on the fact that Zoro was a feared nigga in the East Blue. And I love it. Like, we get this story where Kabaji's like, hey, do you remember me? Zoro's like, not really. I killed a lot of pirates. And he's like, well, you killed my brother. You chased us for days through the swamplands of the Goa Kingdom. And you cut off my brother's head, stuffed it in a bag, and turned it in for a bounty. And Zoro's like, yeah, I guess that does sound like me. But Kabaji's pissed. He's trying to intimidate and scare Zoro. And Zoro's just like, not scared whatsoever. Like, they make Zoro so cool. Like, so cool. Like, I love what McKinney does with what they gave him for Zoro. I love what Inaki does with what they gave him for Luffy also. But I like Zoro regularly, so seeing him in a live action sense and giving him the justice he's due is such a chef kiss for me. So, Nami and Zoro escape. They knock out Kabaji, they take out the rest of the crew, and they go rescue Luffy. Luffy's been trapped in a case of seawater that is slowly filling up to drown him. And instead of having him trapped in sea prism stone, because we haven't even been introduced to that type of material yet, and just for FYI in the manga, sea prism stone is a type of stone or a material that has the properties of the sea, so it affects devil fruit users the same way. It takes away the powers, makes them weak, whatever. So, there's no sea prism stone, just seawater. Buggy's trying to drown Luffy. He's trying to get him on his side. He's trying to play up the Shanks thing. And we cut to another flashback. And this is the flashback where Luffy gets abducted by Higama the bear. And Shanks and his crew pop off and save him. So, in this scene, I gotta give it to Shanks. He played the dude who plays Shanks. He played it so well, so cool, so steady-handed. Then when it pops off and Lucky Root does the shot, quick side note, the representation in this show, peak. Like, you always knew Yasop was a person of color, Usopp, whatever. Lucky Root being a person of color, like Higama being a person of color or ethnic person. All these ethnicities that they bring into the show and dialects and nationalities, perfect. And a lot of them line up with what Oda has said previously would be the nationalities of these people. And I like that they're going with that and leaning into that. It's so perfect. So we get this fight scene where we get Shanks' crew popping off. We get to see Ben Beckman, Yasop the Great, fucking Lucky Roo, Shanks, all of these guys take out these bandits. And it's such a good scene to showcase the difference between these pirates and this bandit. You know what I'm saying? Like, These guys that live by code, like even in the earlier scene where Higama came in, he spilled stuff on Shanks. Like they could have took him out there, but because it wasn't a threat to his friends, it wasn't something to be angry over. Shanks was like, it's whatever, man. And this is where he taught Luffy a very important lesson, that being a good person isn't isn't indicative of being a Marine or being a pirate. Or being a Marine doesn't mean you're a good person. Being a pirate doesn't mean you're a bad person. Like, you can be a good person and still be a pirate. It all depends on how you as a person operate. And this was a lesson that Luffy took, and he held on to that shit. And, yeah. So, Higama has taken Luffy out to sea. Shanks is like, where's Luffy? And he follows them. And this is where we get the scene where Higama and Luffy meet the Lord of the Coast, Sea Beast. So the Sea Beast comes out, he throws Higama off the boat, eat Higama, Higama's dead, whatever. Then Luffy falls out the boat into the sea. Luffy can't swim, of course. Shanks appears, saves Luffy. Sea King comes around, rears up, bites down at Shanks, takes off his arm. Shanks uses a power that hasn't been fully explained yet, and I'm not going to spoil you guys on it, but it is a specific power, a specific thing, and he scares off the Sea King. He saves Luffy, loses an arm, Luffy sees it, and we have the emotional moment where Shanks is like, hey, I'm just glad you're okay, it's just an arm. You feel me? So we get all of that, we cut back to the present. The crew, Nami and Zoro, come and rescue Luffy. We get the climactic battle, and the effects for Buggy are great. The effects for Luffy are great. Luffy and Buggy are duking it out, and they're having this battle of not just for the map, or not just for, you know, the freedom of the people, but ideals. Luffy's ideals are freedom, like, hey, this is my dream, I'm chasing my dream, I'm gonna do this no matter what. Buggy's from the standpoint of, hey, dreams are this dream that you have is unattainable for you. Like, I have been planning this for ages. Like, this is my shot. You know what I'm saying? This is what's gonna make people recognize me. And Luffy's like, hey, people aren't gonna recognize you just because you do something great. People recognize you because you are great. You feel me? And that's another strong message that I love. So the teamwork comes into play where Luffy and gets Nami to lock up Buggy's parts in different trunks and cases. Cuts Buggy down the sides. He's nothing but a head, feet, and hands, like in the manga. And then he hits him with the Gum Gum Bazooka, blasts him away. And they're getting ready. Zoro's like, all right, let's go. We got the map. Let's get out of here. And Luffy does something really important and really, really informing to his character. He's like, no, we gotta do one more thing first. And he goes and starts freeing the people. And the mayor, who's also a character in the manga, comes up and he's like, hey, so what's the deal? Are we your slaves now? Like, what's going on? And Luffy's like, no, I'm just setting you guys free. And he's like, but aren't you a pirate? And he's like, yeah, but I'm a different kind of pirate. And that's Luffy to a T. He's a pirate, but he's a different kind of pirate. He enjoys freedom, adventure. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he doesn't like when freedom is taken from others. And like, you see that. And it's just very important to his character. It's very important to me as a One Piece fan that this was represented in Luffy in the live action by the actor, and it's just great. So they leave in Orange Town. The people are thanking them, and you know, Luffy's like, hey, you know, you guys, I really believe in y'all. Like, you're my crew. This is the crew. We're gonna do this. And you kind of get the feeling that Zoro's starting to lean more towards being on Luffy's side. Like, he's gravitating towards Luffy. And Nami is also, but she's also has her own mission. And that leads to the ending scene where we cut to Nami going inside the boat that she stole, opening up the secret compartment, pulling out a mini transponder snail, and contacting somebody. We don't know who yet, but she's contacting somebody and telling them, hey, I have the map. And that's where we cut. And this is episode 2. I love what they did with Buggy. I love how they focused on Buggy's relationship to Shanks versus Luffy's relationship to Shanks. Luffy's inspiration of himself and belief in himself and how that affects others around him. And I would totally recommend that if you haven't watched this One Piece live action yet, I suggest you go and watch it because it's great. And now we're going to get into episodes 3 and 4, the Syrup Village arc, where we meet Usopp. And these 2 episodes go together, so these next 2 episodes are going to be kind of put together in a review. And I will be right back with these messages after this. So, stay tuned and enjoy. Hi, I'm Goldfang Crew's first mate and the Slyy Report anchorman, Gold D. Ranks. Do you ever get thirsty? Do you ever feel parched? Do you ever think, God, I could use a drink? Well, look no further than today's sponsor, water. It's 70% of your body and 70% of this planet. Drink it. It's good for you. And we're back. How you doing? In our final story today, we're going to talk about episodes 3 and 4 of the One Piece live action, the Syrup Village arc. Let's get started. So we open up episode 3 with a flashback montage of Usopp. Now, I'm a fan of this for a couple reasons. It shows us that Usopp is dedicated to this thing that he's been doing. He's done it every day since he was young. It also shows us the progression of why the villagers have stopped believing him when he does say these things. I also think the transition from young Usopp doing it to current Usopp doing it was a good way to show, like, hey, this is this guy. This guy is persistent if nothing else. He has a thing that he believes in strongly, and he's not going to be deterred from doing that thing. So, we cut over to the Straw Hats. They're on the boat. Luffy has made his little pitiful flag, and he's trying to pitch it to the guys. And Nami's not having it. She's like, nah, you're not putting that on my ship, and we're not a crew. So Zoro comes out from the innards of the ship, and he's like, hey, bathroom's leaking. Nami's like, we don't have a bathroom. He's like, well, something's leaking. She goes back inside. She sees her little stash compartment is leaking. She looks in there, mini transponder ruined. So, this is a problem for Nami. But also, their ship is now sinking. So they have to find a new ship. And Nami says the closest place is Gecko Island's Syrup Village. So they head over. They arrive on Syrup Village, and they immediately decide, okay, we gotta get a ship. They go to the shipyard. They're looking around. Nami is like, okay, we gotta find a ship we can steal. And Luffy's immediately against this. He's like, hey, no, we can't steal a ship. Ship is part of the crew. It needs to be like something we get. You know what I'm saying? Like something that we get together. So Luffy is like explaining this to Nami, and Nami's like, well, all right then, why don't you just explain it that way to somebody and see if they'll sell us a ship? And Luffy's like, exactly. So you can already see how the crew dynamic is going to be. Luffy's way of doing things versus the crew's realistic expectations. So Luffy goes and sees the Going Merry, and he thinks the Merry's talking to him, but it's really Usopp. And then Usopp starts selling the ship. He starts telling them about how great it is, and Luffy's like, "Well, take it." And he goes and tells the Zoro and Nami, he's like, "Hey, this guy's gonna sell us the ship." And Usopp's like, "Well, technically, I can't really sell you the ship. I don't own it." So there's even more of Usopp's charisma and lies. Like he's a liar, clearly, but he's so likable in his lies that you want to believe him. You feel me? So we cut over to Usopp. He tells him, "Hey, I know who owns this whole shipyard. We can go see her, and maybe you can talk to her, and she'll give you the ship." So Usopp takes him to Kaya's, and here we get introduced to Sham, Bucci, and Kuro. Sham is gender bent. I'm not. I don't really feel no ways about it. It works for what they're doing here, and possibly also a couple with Bucci. Possibly, who knows? But I like the dynamic here, and I also like how they have Kuro. I like Kuro because you could tell that he's well mannered or whatever, and putting on the airs of his job, and he does his job well. But you can also tell just underneath the surface is something incredibly sinister and menacing about him. And even Zoro notices it, and I like how Zoro notices Kuro, and he seems familiar to him because he's seen his wanted poster, and also because Zoro is a fucking bounty hunter, so he would be familiar with the top bounties in the East. Like, it's so good, but he doesn't fully recognize him. So we cut to Usopp dealing with Kaya and all the Straw Hats in the house and talking, and they've been invited to dinner, so they're trying on clothes. And Nami's trying on outfits. Luffy's like, "Well, you still look like Nami to me, so I don't understand what you're asking me. Why you look how you look." Zoro finally comes in and he's like, yeah, just give me something black." And Nami picks out his outfit, which is nice. And Nami and Luffy make a bet. Luffy bets that he can get Kaya to give him the ship, and if he can't, then they'll go about getting a ship Nami's way. So cut to the dinner, and I like how all of their outfits in the show, by the way, are like manga outfits, or like outfits that Oda has drawn the crew in previously. I like that. So they're at the dinner, and Zoro's drinking. Nami's sitting there, really kind of being a dick, but you know, whatever. And then Kaya's talking to them and telling them about herself or whatever and all this other stuff. And then Luffy decides to make his announcement about being a pirate and wanting the ship. And he's really giving a passionate speech. Like, he's giving a passionate speech. And like, everybody is just like, what is this guy doing? But Kaya is really enthralled by this speech, though. You can tell. She's really moved by what Luffy is saying, because he genuinely means it. So she ends up having a little sickness attack because Kuro and them are poisoning her. You find this out throughout them talking. And Kuro's like, "All right, you guys gotta leave, whatever. Get out of here." And Kaya's like, "Nah, let them stay the night. You know, it's late, whatever." So Kuro's like, "Fine, they can stay." So Kuro's plan is to kill Kaya once she officially turns 18, because everything in her estate will be transferred to him. So the Straw Hats being there kind of throws a little wrench in the plan, along with Kaya's confidant, Mary, who the ship, the Going Merry, is named after and also looks like. So Mary is killed by Kuro. The Straw Hats are, you know, wandering around at night. Zoro, Usopp, and Luffy are in the kitchen talking, looking for food. Luffy's looking for food. Zoro's looking for booze. Usopp's just hanging out. And this is where we get the conversation where Usopp realizes Luffy knows his dad, and we get the backstory between Usopp and Kaya. And yeah, so Zoro still looking for the booze. Usopp's like, oh, well, the wine cellar's over here. So Usopp takes Zoro to the wine cellar while Luffy stays in the kitchen and does one of the dumbest things, but also one of the most Luffy things he could possibly do. And he eats the entire pot of poison soup. So, you know, Luffy. So Zoro and cut back to Zoro and Usopp. They down in the cellar. Usopp finds Mary's body, and then Kuro, Butchie, and Sham show up. Kuro challenges Zoro. Zoro gets ambushed by Sham, and Usopp escapes. Zoro gets thrown into a well with the dead body of Mary. Usopp escapes into town. He's trying to warn the town that pirates are coming. Once again, the pirates are here. But nobody believes him because of his antics. And then we get the most surprising thing, the twist that happens in this arc. If you're a manga or anime watcher, the twist that happens is Kobe has been sent by Garp to lead a mission to track down Luffy and the gang because they know that they are on Syrup Village based off of the fact that they found Luffy's shitty flag on that sunk boat that they stole. And he walks up to Usopp and he's like, hey, I believe you. And that's where episode 3 ends. And we pick up with episode 4 with Usopp leading the Marines, Kobe, Helmeppo, and their unit to the house. They get there, Kuro puts on a show, an act, and here's one thing I do have a nitpick with. I don't know why Helmeppo did not recognize Kuro. Maybe he's never seen Kuro's wanted poster. Maybe his father never told him what Kuro looked like. But that's just a nitpick. That's neither here nor there. So, Kuro puts on a show for Kobe or whatever. They give up Luffy because he's been poisoned. And Kobe's like, I'm sorry, Usopp, I can't do anything. You don't have any proof. So Usopp goes running off tonight to find help. And Luffy is taken with Kobe and Helmeppo. So we cut to Zoro. He's trying to escape the well. And another thing they did in this arc is they inserted the Zoro flashback right here. So we get all of Zoro's character motivations, the backstory with Kawina, and his time in Shimosuke Village, stuff like that. So we get all of Zoro's character motivations here, and I'm not sure how I feel about it because I do kind of feel like it takes away from Usopp's story, particularly. But we do get good moments of Usopp throughout the episode. Like when he goes back into the house to defend Kaya. And Kaya's like, oh, well, I can't believe you and all this other stuff. And Usopp gets ready to leave, but then he turns around and he's like, no, I don't care if you don't believe me. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to protect you. Then we get Nami coming in and she reaffirms what Usopp has told Kaya. And that's when they start to use the secret passageways to try and get out of the house. Because the house has been locked down by Kuro and his pirates. So we cut outside to Luffy with Helmeppo and Kobe. And Kobe is conflicted because he feels like something's wrong. And he wants to trust his gut. Helmeppo is saying, no, this is the orders. Like, we got to follow these orders. Like, while we have Straw Hat, let's just go. And Helmeppo gets to the point where he's like, fuck it. I'm just going to take Straw Hat and we're going to go. So he draws a gun and he's like, move. And this is when Zoro has escaped. He's gone through his flashback. And he pops up. And he's like, really? So he knocks out Helmeppo. Luffy throws up all the poison. And he's like, I gotta go back and save my friends. Kobe's like, no, you're under arrest. Luffy looks at him and he's like, Kobe, I understand you're doing your job and I respect that. But I'm going back to save my friends. And if you want to try and stop me, you can, but I'm going. And Kobe respects this. So Luffy and Zoro go back to the house. They break into the house using fucking strength. And they defeat the Black Cat Pirates. Zoro takes on Sham and Bucci in one of the best choreographed fights of the season. Don't at me. And Luffy takes out Kuro in a serviceable fight. Kuro has been stalking Kaya, Nami, Usopp in the room, in her parents' room where the emergency shutoff for the house security is, and Luffy shows up. Kuro starts doing this little shave flash step thing. I don't really like how they portray it in the show, but that's neither here nor there. But he starts doing that, mocking Luffy. Luffy starts to focus in on him, and he gives him the Gumma Gumma no stretch round punch, you know? And then the battle, it's not a long drawn out battle. Kuro tries to attack Luffy. Luffy dodges. Luffy overpowers him, and he hits him with the Gum Gum Bell, and that's it. We get Luffy and Zoro and Nami and Usopp all coming together when the day is saved and being like, okay, well, now we gotta get out of here. We're wanted. The Marines are here. And Kaya's like, well, I guess you can't have the ship. So Kaya gives them the going merry. They set sail, and as soon as they're leaving the island, Kobe and Helmeppo are back with Garp on his ship. And Kobe's like, I'm sorry, I failed. I couldn't live up to your expectations. And Garp is like, don't worry about it. These things happen. That's why we have a backup plan. You flushed them out. So Garp begins to give chase to the Straw Hats in their new ship. So this next part is a spoiler if you are only a live action watcher and you want to get into the anime or the manga. Here, Garp and Luffy see each other. And the first thing out of Luffy's mouth is, in front of the entire crew, is, Grandpa? So, they have established very early on that Garp is Luffy's grandfather. And this is where episode 4 ends. Now, as far as these first 4 episodes go, I really like it. I really love them. They are doing a great job of adapting the source material, adapting the anime and manga, hitting key points and key story elements, making certain characters more important, really emphasizing Kobe and Helmeppo's journey, which was a cover story called The Diary of Kobe Meppo, where they train under Garp, really emphasizing that stuff early on. So you see how Kobe and Helmeppo are parallels or rivals to Luffy coming up, and Zoro coming up in this new age, you know what I'm saying? And that's another thing we get to later on in the season when talking about the new age and it being the time of the younger. So yes, episodes 1 through 4 we get Luffy, Zoro, Nami, Buggy, Garp, Kobe, Helmeppo. We get Arlong's introduction. We get the introduction of the Fishmen. We get all of this good stuff, and it's so good. It's so good, and I really suggest you guys go watch it and enjoy it. This has been part 1 of the Slyy Report special on One Piece the live action. I am your host, Gold D Ranks, and I just want to say that the One Piece is real, and you should go enjoy it with your friends, with your family, with your enemies. It doesn't matter. Go enjoy One Piece. Watch the live action. Watch the anime. Read the manga. It's so good. Thank you for joining us on today's special Slyy Report. on the One Piece live action, episodes 1 through 4. We will be back with episodes 5 through 8 in part 2. So stay tuned and have a good day.
Hey you guys, I just wanted to say thanks for joining us on the channel today for this video. I know it's kind of a long one, but I was really excited to talk to you guys about this One Piece live action. So I split it into 2 parts. This is going to be the first part, and the next part will be out most likely within the week. I'm not going to say the following tomorrow or the following day, but it'll be out this week, and stay tuned for that. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. This is Goldfang Slyy, signing out.